child's shoe, buried deep in the mud. A lonely stretch of moorland, silent and cold. And a tape recorder where a little girl's trembling voice begs for her mother. This wasn't a single tragedy. This was a pattern, a nightmare repeating itself. And for years, nobody knew who was behind it. It started in July 1963. 16-year-old Pauline Reed was walking to a dance. She was dressed up, smiling, excited for the evening. But somewhere along the way, she vanished. Her family searched every corner of Manchester, but it was as if she'd been swallowed by the earth. The case grew cold. People whispered, maybe she ran away, maybe she was hiding. But no one knew the truth. Her final moments had already been sealed in a shallow grave on the moors. 4 months later, in November, John Kilbride disappeared. He was just 12, a boy who left home with a few coins in his pocket to buy some treats. Witnesses remembered seeing him speak to a couple who offered him a ride. That was the last time John was ever seen alive. His parents pleaded for answers. Posters went up, but days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Another child had been swallowed into the same nightmare. June 1964. Another boy, Keith Bennett, only 12 years old, kissed his mother goodbye and set off to visit his grandmother. He never arrived. Search parties combed the city and the surrounding countryside. His mother never gave up hope, but Keith too had disappeared without a trace. Even decades later, despite massive searches, Keith's body has never been found. His disappearance remains one of the cruelest, unanswered questions of all. But the horror didn't stop there. On Boxing Day 1964, 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey was seen at a fairground. Hours later, she was gone. When the truth came out, it stunned even hardened detectives. Because this time, her final moments weren't just remembered. They were recorded on tape. Investigators later heard Leslie's small, terrified voice crying for her mother, while unseen tormentors mocked and humiliated her. Experienced police officers broke down in tears, listening to it. Evidence so disturbing, it would haunt them for the rest of their lives. 2 years later, in 1965, came Edward Evans, 17 years old, invited to a quiet home where laughter and drinks turned into brutality. He was struck repeatedly with an axe. But unlike the others, this murder left a witness, a young man coerced into helping. Terrified, he ran to the police and told them everything. For the first time, investigators had a lead. Police searched the suspect's home. Inside, they uncovered photographs, disturbing photographs of a vast, lonely landscape. The moors. Why would anyone keep pictures like these? Officers began digging, and one by one, the moors gave up their secrets. Human remains, children's clothing, bones buried in shallow graves. Manchester was horrified. It wasn't just one case. It was a series, and the killers had been hiding in plain sight. Police expected to find one man, a shadowy figure who lured children away, a lone predator hiding in the dark. But when the truth came out, it was far worse. It wasn't a stranger lurking in alleys. It wasn't some drifter passing through. The killers lived among the community. They looked normal, ordinary, even respectable, and they weren't acting alone. The police uncovered not one monster, but two, a couple, a man and a woman, holding hands by day, digging graves by night. His name was Ian Brady, intelligent, cold, obsessed with Nazi writings and sadistic fantasies. But he wasn't alone. By his side was someone no one expected, Myra Hindley. Her face, framed by bleached blonde hair, would become one of the most hated images in Britain. Because the idea of a woman helping lure children to their deaths, shattered every assumption people had about evil. Neighbors remembered her as polite. Children trusted her. Parents never suspected her. And that was the point. She wasn't just by Brady's side. She was part of the trap. Together they formed a perfect disguise. He played the calculating predator. She played the reassuring accomplice. And together they destroyed families, recording their cruelty, photographing their burial sites, and burying innocents beneath the silent moors. The world expected a monster. Instead, it got two. And the most terrifying part was this: they didn't look like killers at all. They looked like us. Why did they do it? Not for money, not for revenge, not even for hate. For Ian Brady, murder was a dark fantasy. Power, domination, control. For Myra Hindley, it was about him. She wanted his approval, his love, his darkness. He craved cruelty. She craved him. Together, that was motive enough. In court, the evidence was overwhelming. The tape of Leslie Ann Downey's final pleas, the photographs of burial sites, the remains of children. The British public recoiled at the thought of a woman's involvement. The idea that Hindley, with her pale hair and calm expression, could participate in such acts shattered society's understanding of evil. Both were sentenced to life in prison. Hindley died in 2002, Brady in 2017. Neither ever truly revealed the full scope of their crimes, and Keith Bennett's body was never found, leaving his mother to die without knowing where her son lay. The moors, once just lonely stretches of land, became forever haunted. A place where the earth itself hides stories of cruelty and sorrow. The moors' murders remain a chilling reminder. Evil doesn't always look monstrous. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it holds hands. Sometimes it walks among us. And that's what made this case so terrifying.